everyone to sleep after dinner. Yeah.
I apologize, I arrived a little bit late, and I'm familiar with these types of development, and I may have missed, this may have been covered, and I apologize. Is the envision for a public entity to own these and assume the environmental liabilities, or are these privately owned? And I'm sorry if that was answered up front and I missed it. Is it, you know, I've seen it go both directions, and if you could just give us some idea which way your recommendation is on it.
Right now, the concept is that the land ownership or the land control, and it may be leasehold interest in the land, depending on how that is in the hands of the Port Authority. But the development is in the hands of private concessionaires, and you know, you can fill in details if I'm saying it a little wrong. The one facility that may be more owned by the Port Authority itself would in fact be this private dry bulk. However, it's possible that went out to a concessionaire as well, with a condition on the concession that it be open to any shipper that wanted to use it. So, as far as environmental liability goes, not my forte, but that's going to be a complex issue that needs to be answered going forward.
Well, if federal funds are going to be used to implement, if the Port Authority is going to use federal funds to basically get it pad ready, so to speak, for a tenant, the environmental clearance would have to be done for them to utilize the funds to do that.
It would have to be a brownfield or voluntary cleanup.
Correct.
And then it would be leased or owned by the Port Authority.
That's correct, and so that would be.
That's a big motivation to some owners of property. So I can see the partnership.
It seems like it would be a beneficial partnership in almost all cases here. So just to go through phase 4 a little bit. Again, it's phase 4 now. We've said, okay, 16 to 20 years in the future, we're going to see a local need for this distribution center. We're going to see local manufacturing, local warehousing and distribution. This flex space will be of interest to a tenant, and it will be what you don't see in these pictures, of course, is the surrounding growth of the eastern side of Jefferson County here that will essentially be growing out of the I-55 and the rail corridor and the river for that matter. So we anticipate economic growth in this area that's really follows the freeway and the river and the rail, and that would be seed for the local growth in our port area here. And then phase 5, Herculaneum has a phase 5. And phase 5 is essentially full build out. And now we've got, I'm showing this, and boy, did that one did not come out as, what happened here? Our pictures get progressively, that one's much nicer. Phase 5, it just gets worse. The one night wears on, the pictures get worse and worse. No, I know, it was we have, to get some file sizes down. But basically what we have is this area in here is highly flexible on what's built and when it's built, because a lot of that's going to be tenant driven. And if you can get this slag pile leveled with a level cap on it, it's already being leveled, but with a level cap, with a rail, and with pavement or buildings, then it's going to be attractive to a tenant that needs a combination of good freeway access, because the new bridge goes straight out to the freeway, rail access, and possibly even water access. So that's what we're looking at in the 5th phase, is essentially full build out with the possibility here of this general cargo. And as we get further into it, we'll talk a little bit about how that general cargo facility rather dovetails into Crystal City. So let's just move on to Crystal City.
You also notice too that the uses there, they get closer to the community, like the office complex and things, they're more compatible with the adjacent community as well. So there's also, not just because of
Good
obviously the uses there near the river for those types of operations, but then also being cognizant of what's going to work best with the neighboring community, not only looking at landscape buffers and things like that, but also the structures themselves, those facilities, and what's more compatible with the communities next to them. So you can kind of notice that in the layout as well.
Right, Barb. Thank you for reminding me. What we've done in the early planning is we looked at somewhat of a belt going right straight through here that separated the existing community from the new development, and we tried to, as much as possible, get compatible uses going this direction that favored the high school and the residential uses in here. We tried to save as much as we could some of the traditional residential uses in here. We've got right here, we've got a bicentennial tree that if you wonder why this is asymmetrical, we rather moved everything around to put a courtyard around the bicentennial tree. We have another bicentennial tree right in there to the historic cemetery that we've danced around a little bit. It's absolutely right, because we've tried to taper the development north as it went into those residential areas. Crystal City, we've really have a different type of a site, because Crystal City is historically, many years ago was an oxbow in the river. It was filled, and it was under agriculture for quite a number of years. It developed this forested river edge here. You can see the oxbow right along there, and of course the old UP rail line. Actually, that's UP right there, and this is BNSF coming right through here. They followed that old oxbow. What we have here is a site that's adjacent to a Superfund site, and it's largely still flat agricultural type land that's at a low level of utilization. To develop this into a port, we really saw that it needed to have what's called a slackwater notch, or a slackwater harbor, and that is cut into the bank, that it be taken out of the river current. So barge movement in this slackwater area is much easier. But at the same time, when you do something like that, you have a large investment. When you have a large investment, you need a large capacity, high volume terminal. So in looking at that, we proposed a dry bulk terminal, and that could be any one of a number of dry bulk commodities, with the support track, with a loop track, support track, and I will tell you all of those rail curves are kosher, all of the switches are the proper angle, and all of the distances are as per AREA standards. So it will fit like you see it right there. We didn't cheat the loop track to get it to wedge in there. But you have access to two railroads here, BNSF and UP, the existing UP line going here. We've got storage tracks for 2 full unit trains, one of them on these side tracks here, and one of them on the storage tracks here. And we've got another public dry bulk terminal in the notch. We've got another general cargo, unitized cargo, containerized cargo terminal. Those are important to the phasing, and when I get into the phasing, I'll talk a little bit about how those work with Herculaneum.